Welcome back in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. Give us follows on X at Zander Krause and at JF McMullen. Looking forward to hearing from all you guys over there. We've had a great offseason so far, so thanks, everybody, for being here. We're about, what are we, John, 27 days away? They report, what, July 22nd?
July 22nd, yeah.
And then they're on the field 23rd?
23rd, yeah.
So 26 days out from July 22nd, and we're 70 days away from the banner drop. The season start for the Birds. Jerry Jones will load up in his private jet. He'll fly from Dallas, Texas, to the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia, and he'll watch the banner fall at Lincoln Financial Field. A sweet moment for Jeffrey Lurie and the entire Eagles organization. So it's coming quick, Johnny Mac. How's your
in a moment I will probably miss because I missed it last time.
No, you're not missing it. No way. You kidding me? John, how's your off-season honey-do list coming? You knocking things off the boat? What's going
No,
on?
I mean, we're always doing pregame shows, and so I didn't see the banner drop last time.
Well, we weren't doing a pregame show last time. We weren't live.
Well, not we specifically, but,
but other ones.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I probably, and you know, to me, the banner drops more. I guess it's a bigger thing in like basketball and hockey because it's condensed in the arena, and you can better get a feel for it.
Yeah, right.
Like football, it's like, yeah, all right, can we kick it off? But it'll be obviously exciting for people. I just probably won't see much of it, but I think the more important part will be beating the what out of the Dallas Cowboys, which I think is likely. Speaking of Jerry Jones, but yeah, I don't know what he's doing with that team. I don't know what. They're going to be better because Dak Prescott's a good quarterback, and Cooper Rush is Cooper Rush, so they're going to be better from that standpoint. But I don't like what the Cowboys are doing, to say the least.
And how's the honey-do list? You knocking things off, or are you still way behind?
Oh, way behind, but that's because everything keeps breaking, man. I'm in a muck, man. The washer and dryer, tree. What else?
Man, from trees to washers and dryers. This is not the off season J Mac was looking for.
No, it's been brutal. It's been a brutal run, not to mention the heat. But yesterday was washer and dryer day, which is I'm still trying to recover from that, which is one of the reasons I was 10 minutes late and all the trolls got their trolling time. Because I forgot to do something because I'm worried about the damn washer and dryer. But anyway, part of life.
Yeah, part of life. Keep knocking it out, Johnny Mac. We're only 26 days out, brother, till they're back at camp. And the busy season begins for us here on JAKIB Sports. We appreciate everybody for being here. Johnny Mac, a couple guys I want to talk about here in this last hour, number 2 here on this Thursday edition of Birds 365. I want to talk a little Ty Robinson, and I want to talk to Kobe Dean. All right, where you want to go first? You want to go Ty first? You want to go Kobe first?
Yeah, we could talk about Ty. Because he said before the break and teasing it, they're going to need. I don't think it's as important for Ty Robinson. I mean, I think he's penciled in, as the 4th guy in the rotation, so he'll probably get to play. Although, I don't think that's a slam dunk as many people think it is, because the Eagles do see something in some of the backup defensive tackles that people don't think about. Guys like Thomas Booker, who's been here and they trust. They think Gabe Hall's got an upside. It was a practice squad player last year. And Byron Young, don't sleep on Byron Young. That's a guy that was the 70th pick in the draft in 2023 from Alabama. And they picked him off waivers from the Raiders last year and kind of stashed him and redshirted him, for a lack of a better term. So they have some people at defensive tackle. So they're not just going to roll Ty Robinson out there. He's going to have to compete, and that's the way you want it. I would still say he's the odds-on favorite to be the fourth guy in the rotation, but it wouldn't surprise me if he isn't, especially early in the season.
Yeah.
So
How fast do you think he could carve out significant snaps? I mean, obviously, we just talked about Milton Williams is gone, and I do think they have players in the room, but I don't know. Ty's versatile, man. I could see Vic liking his skill set. Now, he is a rookie. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on him. What was he, a fourth rounder, I think, fourth-round rookie, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken?
he's a fourth rounder.
Yeah, fourth-round rookie. So I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I think he's got the skill set. I've been impressed by what he said. That doesn't really mean he's going to play well.
He's a very impressive person.
Yeah, very impressive. We'll see. But how fast do you think he can carve out significant snaps?
But, it's interesting because and nobody gets to see Thomas Booker because he hasn't. I mean, that dude, I call him Senator Booker. He's going to be a center. He's from Stanford. He is really impressive person.
He's in the politics too, right, Booker?
Yeah, we've had some some interesting political decisions. Just very, very smart, as you would imagine, from a Stanford guy. He's only 25 years old. You talk about versatility. He's probably their most versatile as far as being able to play a little bit of nose tackle. Now, the Eagles have had a very difficult time trying to find a backup nose tackle because 340-pound guys you can move don't grow on trees. Right. And Thomas is 305-ish. So he's got some size. That's the same thing. They were using Byron Young sort of in a they didn't line up because it's, again, spring is not a time for the offensive defensive line. So we'll get a much clearer view at training camp. But when they did line up in 5-man fronts in the spring, I never saw it with the first team because it's, remember, it's essentially a passing camp. So you want your pass rushing group out there when you do the rare times you do team drills. So that's going to be a 4-man front. But the few times they did roll out a 5-man front, it was with the second team, and it was Byron Young who was getting the nose tackle rep. So I think that's a positive sign for him. And yeah, I think Ty Robinson, again, he's a day 3 pick. I think he'll have every opportunity to compete and earn that 4th spot. But I don't think I think a lot of people, and I wrote about this last week, a lot of people have defaulted to him like that's his job. I don't think that's the case even remotely. He's got to beat out Thomas Booker. He's got to beat out Byron Young. He's got to beat out Gabe Paul. And if you ask me the favorite, I would say it's Booker. 1, followed by Ty Robinson, 2.
I think I saw Booker in a clip yesterday at that goofy thing they do down the shore where they're all drunk and they're drinking, and Jason Kelsey's pulling his pants off. I'm like, Jason, what are you doing, dude? I don't know. That's not my cup of tea, but I know people.
Jason's not coming back. He's lost weight to where he feels comfortable pulling off his pants.
He's goofy. Like, the guy's got whatever. I don't want to judge. I mean, a couple kids and he's up there pulling his pants. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? I don't know, but people get a kick out of it. I think I saw Thomas Booker though there to get to my point.
He's remember that name. You don't hear it a lot, but you hear it on this show. And the Eagles like him. And you talk about, because Ty Robinson is really impressive person, but so is Thomas Booker. And maybe the 2 of the smartest people on the team, ironically, playing the same position. And I mean book smart more than football smart. But they like Thomas Booker a lot.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he does. We'll see what he does. Do you, John? Do you think you just mentioned that they've been looking for that, second nose tackle? Do you think Ty could be that? I don't know.
He's like I think the reason people are enamored with Ty Robinson is he looks like you know, he's ready made for WWE. If he had to take off his pants and like Kelsey and, you know, it was about cosmetics, you know, he'd be a main eventer. So I think they're enamored by his physical stature. And he's a great athlete too. He tested well. But I asked that question to a couple of scouts I know, because I got to watch some Ty Robinson film, and I just don't see it on film. It's like, because he tested great,
Right.
and and maybe it's just because he's so, like, he's almost like a bodybuilder. Like, to me, and this is just rampant speculation. I'm not saying the Eagles have asked. To me, he might have to tone that down a little bit and maybe concentrate more on training for the football part of it,
Right.
so he can translate some of that athleticism onto the field. But I don't think he's, like, 99% of the people have penciled him as the fourth defensive tackle. I think he's got to earn that job.
So he's really an effort guy, though, right? He's one of those guys. He's got obviously high motor type of player. So we'll see. But you got to be able to create leverage in the NFL and win the battles with leverage and hand usage and all those different things. We'll see if he can refine it and kind of come into his own and come into his come into what he can be this year.
I mean, he's listed at 288, which I think shocks people because of his body type. Like, he looks like superstar Billy Graham for old school wrestling fans. He looks like, the biggest, strongest guy from a physical standpoint. But 288 is not big for a defensive tackle in the NFL.
What's Jalen Carter weigh?
310, 315. But for a nose tackle, it's really small. Like, you're not holding up on the nose at 288. So, but he's a great athlete. Like, I don't think people realize, like, just from, I don't know if it translates to the football field, but, the relative athletic score, I'm just looking it up. It was off the charts. Very similar. 18 out of 1,812 from 87 to 2025. That's how good of an athlete he is. So his vertical leap, his broad jump, his 40-yard dash, that's the things we're talking about. His 20-yard split, his 10-yard.
What was this 40, like a 4.83 or something like that?
4.83. 4.83 at his size is pretty freaking impressive.
It's pretty good.
But I don't know if
what did Jordan Davis run? Remember Jordan Davis, like, grabbed every headline in the world when he ran the 40?
Yeah. Well, he was at like he was doing it at
340 pounds.
340. There's very few people of Jordan Davis's size that have ever moved like Jordan Davis. But, again, does it translate? I'm glad you brought that up. 4.78 at 341. I'm glad you brought that up because it hasn't really translated. Like, people and that's why the projection was, well, he could be a great pass rusher. I remember my buddy Damo saying he could be an edge rusher. And I'm like, I don't see that, just because of his athleticism.
Right. Now, Ty will have a different role, though, right? I mean, it's harder to be a pass rusher from the middle where Jordan plays predominantly.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ty's not a nose tackle. I mean, if he's playing nose tackle.
No, he's too small. 288. Come on. I mean, as much as he might have the skill set, like you said,
or even
he's not going to hold up.
Even a shade one technique. If he's playing there, it's out of necessity, not because they want to. So he's got to be more the 3 technique, 4-eye guy, which is sort of the role of Jalen Carter, Mora Jomo, those guys. Milton Williams previously, Fletcher. That's what he's got to. And, like, technically, he's a better athlete than Fletcher Cox or Jalen Carter. As crazy as that sounds. Does it look that way? on the field. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're 18th out of 1,812 defensive tackles over the past 40 years. Does he look more athletic on film? And people haven't seen him play yet. And for the people that have, now Jalen Carter didn't work out at the combine because of all the issues. But I don't think he would have hit Ty's numbers. But Jalen Carter looks a hell of a lot. And Jalen Carter's probably, because Jalen Carter's so gifted.
I know he's an outlier. I was like, I don't want to compare anybody to him.
But so I'll go back to Milton Williams and see what he did. But I'm sure Ty Robinson performed better at the combine, because there's only 17 guys that performed better overall than Milton Williams, who was very athletic himself. So, but I don't know if he was top 17. But, you know, and again, people see, to me, it doesn't translate on the field. So something's missing. I don't know what.
Where do you think he best projects, though? Just like as a 3 technique, regular defensive tackle, basically?
I don't. I'm more of a 4-eye, which is, you know, you got to play both. I think people don't understand. You toggle back from these techniques from play to play. You got to play both.
Yeah, right. I think it could be a 1 technique, a 3 technique, and a 4 technique in the same series, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I think he's more suited to play a lot of 4-eye, which is basically he's going to be a better run defender than pass rusher. I think. But we'll see. He'll have an opportunity to earn his spot. He's certainly got the athleticism to, but be careful with that, because they said the same thing about Jordan Davis. And just because you're a great athlete running around in your shorts and broad jumping and vertical leaping doesn't mean it translates to the football field.
John, for those who don't know, can you explain the techniques? I know. Obviously, like 3 technique means you're trying to beat up on the guard and penetrate. 4-eye typically means you're probably trying to control the tackle a little bit and set the edge on the outside, control the B gap. Just explain, because I don't know if I think people know because they listen to the show all year round. So I'm assuming that they are smarter than the average football consumer. But for anybody that's listening that might not know, I think it'd be beneficial to explain, you know, what exactly that means. Oh, what the heck does it mean that a defensive tackle is playing 3 tech or 4-eye tech or 4 tech or 1 tech or 2 tech, whatever it is?
Well, the easiest is 0 tech, which is, you know, nose tackle, which is right over the center. Basically, 4-eye. It refers to the gap and where you are shaded. 4 eyes means you're on the inside shoulder of the offensive tackle.
Right.
And generally, that's been Vic's philosophy, is to have, you know, on run, when he wants to stop the run, he plays 5-man fronts, nose, 2 4-eyes, and then what he calls overhang players, which are the edge rushers, who are going to be anywhere from 7 technique to 9 technique. Everybody hears wide 9. That used to drive me crazy back in the day, because you know, when not Jeremiah's dad, Jim Washburn, was here, everybody was, well, they play the wide 9. It's like, it's a technique. It's not a defense. People thought it was a defense. Those were the Jason Babin days. But so you can be 2-eye, you can be any gap, basically. You can be 2-eye, you can be outside shoulder, depending on what you're trying to take advantage of. But for the most part, the Eagles start in that process, and when they get to the pass rushing downs, they're going to have people in wide 9 situations, the edge rushers. But you know, from the standpoint of 3 technique, that's usually the passer. That's usually the Jalen Carter. That's the best position to pass rush from the interior, and that's where you put the Aaron Donalds of the world, for the most part. But again, everybody plays a bunch of different techniques. But for the Eagles, the way they play defense, the tackles are mainly going to play either 0, 1, which would be Jordan Davis, 3 and 4I, which will be everybody else.
Right.
Including Jordan Davis, because he's got to play that as well.
Yeah, that's the big question. Can he play 3-tech?
Yeah. Well, he's not going to play much 3-tech, but he'll play some 4I, and yeah, he's got to get better at that. But yeah, so that's basically how Vic runs his system, and that's, I'm personally, I'm a fan of. If you think about Jim Schwartz, it was a little bit different. That's where you have the wide 9 guys. That's where you have the old 4-man front. You're going to have the 2 defensive tackles. Fletcher Cox would be the 3 technique, and then sort of toggle back and forth with the other one. But at times you could have 2 3 techniques. And that's funner for a defensive lineman, I should say. When Fletcher went from Jim Schwartz to Jonathan Gannon, he was not happy, man, because that 4I bullshit. Yeah,
I remember it, man.
That ain't fun. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, little tutorial.
NFL just put out a 17-minute video of Fletcher Cox highlights on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, for anybody.
Great player.
Yeah.
There's another guy. That's a borderline Hall of Fame player.
Yeah. Well, so I saw somebody in the chat this morning say, I don't think you put out a 17-minute highlight reel unless you want to put him in the Hall. I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not, but hey, John's been saying he's borderline. Maybe he's got enough love to get in. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the NFL, I think a lot. It's not the NFL. It's not the NFL Hall of Fame. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They're not even involved. So technically, so yeah, they're not doing it for that reason. But he's just a very good player, and I think most people know it. But I do think there's some that when you say he's a borderline Hall of Fame player, I've said that in the past, and people give me the cross eye. I'm like, what do you think a Hall of Fame player is? That dude dominated for a very long time. And when I always say with Brandon as well, every time we had conference calls with opposing coaches, offensive coaches, they'd always bring up Fletcher and Brandon first. And they always use numbers, 91, 55. That's who they were worried about. So
we'll see if Fletcher Cox gets in. John, we just talked about the techniques. Where do you think Ty Robinson best projects? Where would he thrive the most, in your opinion?
Well, in theory, 3 because of athleticism, but I think he's more of a 4I guy. I think that's going to be his best role. Like, that to me, the athleticism doesn't show up on film. Now, maybe that changes when he gets better coaching. But I think that's the reason why, let's be honest, the NFL is usually enamored by athletes like Ty Robinson, and he was a 4th-round pick. There's a reason he was a 4th-round pick, and I don't think it translates, yes, but that's where the Eagles coaches come in. And they have to develop them. So we'll see. To me, it's 4I, but I think the hope is because of his athleticism that it'd be 3 technique.
Good stuff there on Ty Robinson, everybody. That's the discussion on Ty Robinson. It's going to be interesting to see, John. I think he's got a good chance to, do they have enough to make up for the loss of Milton Williams? And I don't think it's all on Ty. I think you got Jordan will have a bigger role. Jalen Carter's still probably going to, I don't know if he can have a bigger role. He damn near played 100% of snaps most games last year. So I'm not going to say he's going to have a bigger role, but you got Jordan, you got Nora with Jomo, you got Ty, you got Thomas Booker, Byron Young, as you talked about. Do they have enough to replace Milton Williams? I think they do.
I think that's up to Morrow, really. How quickly does he develop? No, I don't think he's going to be Milt Williams, at least early on. But I think they're fine overall from a standpoint of they have plenty to be a good defense on the defensive tackle. It's not a position I'm concerned about, but no, I don't think they have a player that's going to play at the level of Milton Williams. Milton was really good last year.
Yeah, he was.
So part of it is that, but I think they have enough at defensive tackle. I'm not worried about defensive tackle.
Yeah, me neither. We'll see what ends up happening there. Great stuff on Ty Robinson. Great show so far. I want to thank everybody for being here. We got one super chat we'll read before we get to our commercial break. I appreciate everybody. Hit the like button. We're trying to get to 150 likes per show. So keep smashing that like button. And if you're listening after, and maybe we already gotten to 150 by this point later in the day, smash in and help us get to 200 or 250. So we appreciate all of you guys watching. Here in the off season, we are 20. What did I say we were, John? How many days away from? 26 days away from July 22nd. 26 days away.
I don't even know what the date is. We got 4 days left in June, and then 26 days. Yeah.
Crazy how fast it goes. I feel like June just started, man. It's crazy how quick time flies. So 26 days, it'll be here before we know it. Let's get to our super chat. JD3, our Harrison Bryant Truther checking in. What's up, brother? Do either of you see a world where we see some 3 linebacker sets when Campbell and Dean get healthy? Maybe with Bond or Campbell playing edge linebacker.
Well, that's not really a 3 linebacker set. Like that's
right.
Like I'm not concerned about labeling. You're not going to see 3 linebackers, traditional linebackers, like old school linebackers. You could have 3 labeled linebackers on the field, like Nakobe and Zach playing stacked off ball and Jihad playing edge rusher. So yes, from that standpoint, but no to the way you phrased it. Like you can pick up a roster and they're going to list Jihad Campbell as a linebacker, but if he's playing edge rusher, he's playing edge rusher. So to me, that's part of the problem with the NFL. The NFL is a labeling problem. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, when Malcolm Jenkins was playing linebacker, he's playing linebacker as a safety, but he was playing linebacker.
They're not going to be in any traditional 4-3s, though.
No, God no.
Well, isn't that basically what a 3 linebacker set would mean in a traditional sense?
Yeah. In a traditional sense, you had a middle linebacker, a weak side linebacker, and a strong side linebacker. Sam, they don't do that anymore.
No. So probably not, JD3. Appreciate you checking in, brother. We will say I do think this, John, just on this question, I do think that the difference in this year's defense compared to last year's defense, like I got asked if you think they'll run the same defense with that they ran last year, basically with just the new players plugged in. And the one place I could see it changing would be the versatility of the linebackers, where when Jihad Campbell is healthy, you have that type of skill set with Zach Bond. It might give you more versatility. We've talked about it here on the show, where you can rush one, drop one. You know what I mean? And it gives you a little bit more versatility.
That's the ultimate goal, to have those two, and that's probably more about 2026, to have those two. Just at that point, Nakobe, unfortunately, will, depending on your belief in him.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about Nakobe next, so.
He'll be gone most likely, and then it'll be, you have the 2 linebackers, and then I think you're going to see more A gap stuff and more trying to fool the quarterback, mugging the A gaps, trying to make them indecisive. Maybe one rushes, one drops, maybe both drop. But you have all these different things you can do, and that's where I think ultimately they want to go. With those 2 particular players because of their versatility. So yeah, I think if everything works out with Jihad Campbell, he's going to be a very unique player that really hasn't been seen that much before here. It's been used in other places, but I think for people in Philadelphia, you haven't really had that type of player. And even more so, the comparison was always Van Ginkel, because they had him in Miami, and the Eagles probably would have went after him if he didn't hurt his foot. And if you watched him play, he can play more off. He can play off ball linebacker, and he has played off ball linebacker. He can rush from the outside. He can rush from the inside. He's all over the place. But he's more edge rusher than off-ball linebacker. Looks like Campbell's going to be more off-ball linebacker than edge rusher. But who knows? You know, Howie's brought up – I'll tell you this. And Howie's brought up the Penn State guys, and what he means is Micah Parsons and Abdul Carter, who both played off-ball linebacker at Penn State, and they both ended up as edge rushers. And that's because you can have more impact as the edge rusher. So if Jahad Campbell has that impact, he's going to be playing the edge more.
Yeah, they're not going to force him to play linebacker if he's got an impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he develops. Because if he's that good as a pass rusher, yeah, they're not going to waste it. Just like the Cowboys and now the Giants, and even Penn State, although Penn State kind of wasted Micah. They didn't waste.
They didn't waste Abdul. Yeah, I was going to say. They learned from Micah. Abdul Carter was on the edge a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. JD3, thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate everybody for being here. When we come back, I got a good segment on Kobe Dean. I don't want to spend. We're running low on time. We've been yapping. We've been good, man. Normally I'm like trying to come up with content. I'm like, shit. Now I'm not going to get it in. I had a fun list today, John. I'm going to do list that you don't hate. I don't think you'll hate this list at all. I'm
dreading the start of training camp because of the grind, but only the best part is it means list season is over.
It means list season is over. But this is my list I have. All right, I'm trying to come up with lists that John won't punch me through the screen on. All right, and I think there's a very few of them out there that exist. The one I came up with today is top 10 Eagles that you've covered since you've been in Philly. Is that something that you think you could do?
Oh, top 10 Eagles. There's a lot of them.
That's what I mean. I feel like that would be a good thing. How many of them are on this current team? How many of them are on 16, 17, 18's team? Is there Malcolm in there? Fletcher? You know, I feel like that'd be a fun one.
Yeah, that might have to take some research, though.
Yeah. We can do it tomorrow. We're going to be out of time anyway because I want to talk about it.
Yeah, this team's loaded.
I know. That was my dilemma, is how many of them are going to be on this freaking team because it's so damn good.
But I mean, you know, you're talking about potential. Obviously, Kelsey's got to be on there because he's going to the Hall of Fame. Boy, I'll tell you, Jeff Stoutland. If you've ever talked to Jeff Stoutland, one of his favorite players ever was Brandon Brooks.
Brandon Brooks, yep. All right, well, don't do it now. You're giving away some of your answers.
I'm just. Well, no, I'm not, because there's so many good players. It's
right.
How do you put this guy over that guy? I just talked about Fletcher earlier in this show. He's borderline Hall of Fame player. You know, in fact, I've had that discussion. You know, for the vast majority of their careers, their respective careers, and this is my argument for Fletcher Cox. Like Jason Kelsey's a no doubt about it Hall of Fame player.
Right.
Slam dunk from everybody's perspective. My point with Fletcher has been for the vast majority of their careers, Fletcher was the better player.
Right.
And if he's a slam dunk, why the hell isn't Fletcher a slam dunk?
Different positions. Does that change, tilt the scale a little bit?
Well, I think it's the other bullshit. I think it's Kelsey's so entertaining and
Kelsey's
everybody loves him.
Pants off in front of a bunch of people in public in Ocean City or Seattle.
And he does have a fun, but I'm saying as a pure football player. Now, Jason had a weird career because he got better as he got older. Typically, players descend. He got better as he got older. So, but you can make a strong argument that Fletcher Cox was a better pure football player. Because I've been doing this top 25 Eagles thing since I've been here, whether I was at a different outlet or you know, Sports Illustrated.
Right.
And for a long time, Fletcher was number one each year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Fletcher's being overlooked a little bit for a
crazy
Hall of Fame.
Crazy to me. Well, I don't think it'll be overlooked by those guys. ultimately, I think he's gonna get in, but we'll see.
We'll see what ends up happening. Good stuff there, John. Then we'll do that list. Maybe not today. Maybe I'll give you some time, and we'll do that tomorrow on the show on a Football Friday edition. That'll be our Football Friday list. John, you like that list. I can see it. You don't hate that list. I know you hate list season, but that's
I hate lists in general, but you have to do them. I'm not, we do our top 25, but
that's not an awful list. No, that's not an aggregator list. That's not I'm fishing headlines list. That's just
that's not a Nick Sirianni's the 8th best coach in football list.
Which was, by the way, one of the worst effing lists I've ever read in my life. But anyway, I digress on the list. Like Johnny says, just click to the next one, and the next one we'll click to will be John's top 10 Eagles he's covered. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Let's get to our commercial break. I want to talk a little Nakobe Dean, everybody. All right, I don't know what's going to happen with Nakobe. I love Nakobe Dean. I love the player. I love the kind of guy he is. I love listening to him when he's on camera. He just seems like a good dude to have in the locker room. But business is business, and we don't know how it's going to end. We'll talk about it with John when we get back. I want to thank everybody for being here. Hit that like button. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.